Australia Day takes place on the 26th of January each year to celebrate the diversity and achievements of Australian society. Australia Day also marks the landing of the First Fleet in 1788 and the raising of the Union flag of Great Britain at Sydney Cove. In more recent years, Australia Day has encouraged Australian society to reflect on past wrongs, with the most significant being the mistreatment of Indigenous Australians. In contemporary Australia, Australia Day is now controversial as many see the celebration of the nation of Australia Day to be unfair to the Indigenous population who once had total dominion over the continent. This year, tens of thousands of Australians protested against Australia Day, arguing that the 26th of January marks the arrival of European colonists from more than 200 years ago. In Sydney, Melbourne and several other cities, thousands of Invasion Day protesters demanded that the date of the annual Australia Day celebrations should be changed. Should the date of Australia Day be changed to acknowledge the terrors of British colonisation, or should Australia's National Day remain on the 26th of January? This video will unpack the history of Australia Day and its social and political ramifications. Like I said at the beginning of this video, Australia Day marks the 1788 landing of the First Fleet and the raising of the Union flag of Great Britain by Arthur Phillip at Sydney Cove. After the arrival of Europeans, the Indigenous population was decimated by European colonialism. Ever since, Indigenous Australians have faced intergenerational trauma, with many Indigenous Australians losing connection to their family, spirituality, and languages in the modern world. If you'd like to learn more about the history of Australian colonisation and its impact on Indigenous Australians, please check out the video I made on this topic. There is little to no question that colonisation has had a negative, multifaceted impact on the current social status of Indigenous Australians. For this reason, Australia Day, the national day of the country, is treated in a different light. This is partly due to a shift in the moral and political landscape of Australia. Many Australians believe that celebrating Australia Day on the same day that the British arrived in Australia is a celebration of colonisation. As a result, fewer Australians are willing to raise Australian flags and wear Australian flag merchandise to celebrate the nation's National Day. Being an Australian myself, I've noticed that there are fewer Australian flags on Australia Day in comparison to when I was a teenager. It can be argued that some Australians feel somewhat guilty if they have to celebrate the success and diversity of Australia on January 26, and they think that there is some merit to this claim. After all, Australians can still celebrate the nation's success on another day to accommodate the needs of Indigenous Australians who suffer from historical injustices and trauma. Perhaps Australians could do this on Federation Day, when the 6 British colonies united to form the Commonwealth of Australia. However, this was on the 1st of January 1901, and New Year's Day is celebrated on the same day. On the other hand, many Australians gather and celebrate Australia Day without the intention of celebrating the damage and trauma of colonisation. After all, Australians are not too concerned with politics as a nation and are often happy to celebrate Australia for being a land of opportunity and fairness. At the same time, Australia would not be able to prosper the way they did without taking total control of the continent. For this reason, it is important to recognise that without colonisation, Australia would not be the safe and financially stable nation that it is today. At the same time, Australia has been built off the backs of European migrants who have sacrificed their lives in their homelands to build a prosperous nation today. Following the Second World War, many migrants travelled from Southern Europe, Eastern Europe, and even Western Europe to begin a new life in Australia. Hundreds of thousands of displaced Europeans immigrated to Australia, with more than 3 million people immigrating from Europe during the late 1940s until the 1960s. Australia also believed that it must increase its population to avoid the threat of another invasion, and launched an immigration program whose goal was to increase Australia's population with the slogan, "Populate or Perish." These migrants played a significant role in the development of Australia. These immigrants helped stimulate Australia's economy by opening small stores, providing logistics services, and contributing to Australia's socio-cultural life. This includes introducing new religions, cultures, and attitudes towards sports. The point here is that while colonisation was devastating to the Indigenous, many migrants played a significant role in the success of Australia, and their efforts should be celebrated on Australia's National Day. This recognises that Australia Day is more than just about colonisation, but also multiculturalism, mateship and opportunity. There is a strong case to be made that Australia Day marks a day of mourning for Indigenous Australians, and therefore changing the date of Australia Day could help that suffering. At the same time, many Australians who have contributed to the nation do not intend to celebrate the terrors of colonisation, but rather the success of a fantastic nation with great opportunity. What do you think? Should the date of Australia Day be changed? If so, why? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to subscribe to this channel for more content like this.